So basically, the jewelry that I make out of sterling silver, I do it using the lost wax process, which is basically you go out and buy yourself big block wax, usually a lot bigger than this, and you cut it up and you carve it. These are just examples of me playing around with wax. And you basically, this is, for example, a very, very simple band with texture that I put on. So you got all sorts of tools, all sorts of things that you can use to shape your wax. Now, once you've got the wax, you can then go to a casting company and get that cast in metal. And then and this is what it looks like when it comes back. It's really dirty. It's got a sprue on it that you have to saw off, and it doesn't look finished at all. So once you get that back, you clean it up, which is to say you saw off the sprue, and then you got to file it, and then you got to go in with sandpaper, 4 different grades of sandpaper, starting with coarse to very, very fine, so that you can get in there and really polish up your piece. Then once you've got a finished piece, you then go make a mold. For example, this is my mold of the Love. Most of the molds, some are made out of silicone, but most of them are made out of rubber. This is an example of a rubber mold. And this is the little entrance where the wax gets injected. So once you have a mold, you can reproduce a piece as many times as you like. And the process is you inject the wax, so the wax takes the shape of whatever it is in the negative spacer, which is to say, in this case, the Love. And then you can get the wax cast into metal with a very intricate process. And then you get back the piece dirty, and then you got to file it. And then once you filed your piece, you move over to the polishing machine. Now you've got different kinds of wheels, and you've got different kinds of compounds, some that are rougher, some that are smoother, depending if you want a high polish. So basically, the polishing machine, you just take in your piece of jewelry and you just basically put it on the wheel, and it gets a really, really beautiful shine. So that's basically the process. It is pretty time-consuming. One other thing I can show you is the soldering torch. Now, when you want to join 2 pieces of metal together, you use the soldering torch with gas and oxygen, and with the heat and with solder, you can actually, melt 2 pieces together. I'll show you an example of something that I recently soldered. This is a sterling silver bangle. It looks a little rough because it hasn't been polished, but basically, when you want to set a stone, which, let's say I wanted to set this little amethyst bullet, you've got to have a bezel. A bezel is what encircles the stone. So I soldered the bezel onto the bangle, and now I'm going to have to set it, which is to say I'm going to take a hammer and just lightly tap all around, so that way the stone is perfectly set and isn't going to move. But as you can see, setting stones is an artwork. There's people who set stones all day long. They set diamonds and prongs. So it's really something special. This Love ring takes about an hour and 45 minutes to do, because you've got to get the Love cast, then you've also got the double ring cast, then you've got to solder the 2 pieces together, and then you have to polish it. So it's actually quite a bit of work. So I'd say it takes about an hour and 45 minutes. My bigger pieces take, anything up to like 10, 15 hours. But on the whole, the pieces of sterling silver that I make take about 2 hours each. So it's a little time consuming because they're all handmade and because I'm in charge of my own production. But it's a labor of love.